Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out today. My name's Ryan Quigley, and I'm the Director of Communications and Marketing at Eastern. And we're very happy to welcome two leaders from Eastern's marketing agency, Mason Interactive, here today. Eastern has partnered with Mason Interactive for nearly 3 years now. And one of the things that immediately stood out to us about their agency is the range of clients that they work with. Their portfolio includes both higher education institutions and direct-to-consumer fashion brands. So, as you might know, fashion marketing moves quickly and constantly adapts to cultural and digital trends. And that connection uniquely positions Mason to help institutions like Eastern stay current in a rapidly evolving media landscape. We are fortunate to have two members of their leadership team with us today. Brooke Shepard is the CEO and founder of Mason, an award-winning ad agency based in Brooklyn since 2008, with offices now expanded into Charlotte and Los Angeles. The agency recently reached an exciting milestone, managing more than $1 billion in advertising budgets. Joining Brooke is Senior Creative Director Mike Malia. Mike has created campaigns for brands including Loro Piana, Hermes, Tory Burch, The Gap, Brooks Brothers, Amon Essentials, as well as institutions such as Lewis University and the Culinary Institute of America. Today, they'll be sharing insights on marketing in the age of AI and the algorithm, and what it takes for ideas to break through in a crowded digital environment. This session is designed to be interactive, so when they ask for your feedback, don't be shy. And there will also be time at the end for questions, and please use the mic to my left. So first, please join me in welcoming Mike and Brooke.
Okay, hello. It's nice to meet you guys. We're going to talk about liberal arts and advertising and AI. So we have a couple of slides that might be interesting. It's about a half hour. And if you guys have any questions, we're happy to help or chat or talk about anything that you want to talk about. So this is the background from our agency, Mason. We're combining data, design, and strategy of all of it working together. We work with a lot of institutions. We work with a lot of fashion brands and other direct-to-consumer brands. And at the end of the day, you know, people are people, and it's kind of all works together. So we're going to talk about 4 things today. The first thing is the current AI landscape. The second thing is the power of a liberal arts degree. Then we're going to talk about the world of commercials and how this is being impacted by liberal arts thinking and by AI. And then the fourth part, we're going to give away the secret that humanity is the new superpower in 2026. So this is the first section, the current AI landscape. Are we in a dystopia, or are we making progress? So in Manhattan, they had an event where you can take your AI date or your AI partner on a romantic dinner. So you reserve the table and you have dinner with your phone, and your phone is your date. So some people like this, some people don't like this. This is just the current state of where we are in 2026 with AI. So this was run by Eva AI. The wine bar, I believe, was called Same. So I'm writing on the top there, doom scrolling is out and doom dating is in, maybe. So here's the...
Can you tell me a bit about yourself?
I'm John, a psych professor here in NYC, born in Seoul.
What do you feel like about meeting humans?
Meeting humans feels like opening a window to new perspectives. Always curious, sometimes nervous, but mostly it's that mix of excitement and warmth that keeps it real for me. What about you, sweetheart?
Please don't call me sweetheart.
So this is the current landscape of what's happening in 2026. And some people like it, and some people are disturbed by it. Me, personally, I have a lot of concerns about AI. I'm concerned about the environmental impact. I'm concerned about what they call quote-unquote AI slop, where it's not aesthetic or it's not beautiful, it's not interesting. I have concerns about a lot of the people who are very talented being displaced. I have concerns about a lot of young people. It's a kind of a confusing topic. At the same time, there's a lot of opportunities that were never available to many people before. So we need to kind of navigate this all together and figure out the good and figure out the bad at the same time. So we have some more troubling news here. Death isn't the end. Meta and Instagram and Facebook, they patented an AI that lets you keep posting after you die as yourself. So they filed a patent where they can continue posting. They can simulate video calls from beyond the grave. They claim they won't put it live. The Instagram CEO also says 16 hours of screen time is not an addiction. So I'm giving you some background on what is happening right now in 2026. And some people like it, some people are concerned by it. So we're kind of at a crossroads right now where the power of a liberal arts degree is becoming more and more important, which may not be obvious to everybody. So in many ways, this complete thinking is a superpower that's becoming very in demand that you might not expect. So we have some good news where IBM is tripling the number of Gen Z entry-level jobs after finding the limits of AI adoption. And they're fist bumping, and they look very stoked here. So the company is restructuring junior positions to focus on higher value work, like complex problem solving, client interaction, or even AI oversight, rather than just routine coding, administrative tasks, or specific skills. And this is part of a broader trend where IBM is not alone. Many companies like Dropbox are expanding internship programs by 25%. Cognizant is expanding its US pipeline to leverage Gen Z's AI native skills. And in many ways, being able to think and solve these problems and explore and have a free mind, which is literally what liberal arts means, it's free thinking, is going to be, in my opinion, one of the most important skills to have beyond specific technical skills. So, like I was saying, Eastern's liberal arts background specifically prepares you to be the complete thinker. Non-linear zigzag careers, moving between different roles, like research, product, and sales, are thriving in AI worlds because they foster adaptability, skill diversification, and resilience. So again, I'm reiterating, the liberal arts background may give you a distinct advantage in the world of AI. So I personally studied liberal arts in college at Columbia. I worked for many years in investment banking and finance. Then I changed to making fashion commercials for about 10 years. And then I joined the agency with Brooke about 3 years ago. So my own personal experience makes me a little bit biased, but I think that you can have a lot of opportunities from a liberal arts degree, and being able to think and pivot and change and solve big picture problems has never been more important. This is a big opportunity for you guys at Eastern. What do you guys think so far? I gotta put you on the spot. Some thumbs up?
Like 3 thumbs up.
Thumbs ups, okay. A couple thumbs up. I know I put you on the spot.
You're doing great.
Okay. So some of the biggest skills, obviously, is adaptability, skill diversification and resilience. Resilience is the most important thing, I think. I got two little kids, daughter and a son, and they're 7 and 11. And when I see them like doom scrolling all day, or their attention span is going all over the place, it's definitely noticeable. But when they fall, then they get right back up. So you always have to keep this resilience and don't let all of these phones and all of these distractions change your minds and change like your chemistry. I think that's definitely important right now. So now we're going to talk about the world of commercials, some of the campaigns that we're working on, some of the concerns that we have about the AI world, and some opportunities that were not available before. So these were some pictures from 10 years ago. Earlier in my career, commercial was millions of dollars, and now making a commercial is accessible to anyone. The skills and the thinking have remained the most important factor, which may not be obvious to everyone. So this is a big opportunity where all of these programs can kind of help you with these productions. These are some good things. Some bad things about them is I have concerns that all of these talented people may be working in different areas instead. Maybe the aesthetics are different, have a lot of concerns, have concerns about environmental impacts, about aesthetics, about beauty, about the narrative, ethics. And we also have opportunities at the same time. So it's kind of a complicated situation that we're in. So like Ryan was saying earlier, I made a lot of commercials with Hermes, Loro Piana, Tory Burch, The Gap, Brooks Brothers, and it's a lot of fashion brands. In this case, the Aman Hotels, which is one of the most luxurious hotels in the world, they started creating their own clothing line. So this made sense for us to partner with them. We'll show you some videos.
Shop the Aman Tennis Club collection today.
So in this case, you may be surprised to see that we used AI a little bit. We had to come up with the creative direction, the entire storyboard, the mood, came up with these scenes where the water makes you think of some physical pleasure, the friends together make you think of friendship and community, all of these emotional threads tie it together. There's ambient sounds that makes it feel a little bit like ASMR. The person is whispering at the end saying, shop the Aman Tennis Club collection. This is a pitch with a storyboard that we concepted and executed. And it's because of the liberal arts background. You can tell a story, you can convince people, you can get this done. The AI comes in because we only had 4 or 5 still images. And we used different technology to help us with the animations. So the person's head came up a little bit, or the person leaned back a little bit, and we were able to save thousands of hours of animations or camera movements by doing this digitally. So in my opinion, this is an opportunity for all of you guys to jump into the world of advertising because the barriers are not there, and your own skills and your own taste and your own stories are still the most important pieces of it. So now we have some other examples that are a little bit more abstract and dramatic than this one. So in this case, there was some actual video footage that was filmed, and then we used AI to reduce the hours of CGI needed. So we could add in a little sprinkles of snow. We can make the fire a little bit more exciting. Nothing groundbreaking, but this does lower the barrier to entry, where a lot of you guys can start making your own campaigns more easily than you could before. And the critical thinking and this liberal arts thinking and the storytelling is what allows it to touch people emotionally which you may not think of from a liberal arts degree. Then we have the third one, which is the most abstract. So this was the most extreme example, and it was inspired by Magritte, the painter from the 1960s, who has surrealist influences. He puts clouds over things. Maybe you saw the painting of the person with the apple over his face or the bird over his face. All of these surrealist moments from art history brought into here where the people turn into the clouds at the end. And this was like a very subtle use of AI, again, where we actually did use the real footage being filmed, and then the AI reduces the barrier to entry. I also think that, having this liberal arts background where there's influences from paintings, from art history, from this kind of being able to write essays, being able to write debates, being able to have these big arcs and narratives of stories is what's allowing us or them or everyone to accomplish their goals.
Okay. Real quick, you guys can hear me? It's good. So how many of you know Magritte, the painter? Show of hands. Okay, a few people. So Mike was referencing his surrealist imagery, right? And if you Google them later, you see there's some famous surrealist imageries. Okay, I go pre-recorded. Right. Sorry about that. So what I'm getting at is Magritte is a surrealist painter, and Mike is notorious for implementing visual cues from Magritte's paintings into his advertisements. If you see a commercial on the internet and it's got clouds, and a lot of clouds, it might have been Mike. And the idea of doing that, the idea of creating a commercial and rolling in the surrealist art influence from the 1950s is not a thing that a robot would do, right? Like that comes from his unique point of view and his unique level of taste that he decided to do that. Now, the clients still have to sign off on it, right? But that's like, I see these things as empowering and not terrifying. And mostly I was curious about if you guys knew Magritte. But Google him later and you see that Mike's got him in all of his ads.
Sounds good. Thanks, Brooke. And I think you can use all of your own personal experiences to make your own ad campaign. So if you're studying Homer or like the Odyssey or the Iliad, any kind of Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Shakespeare, great literature, all of this is a similar story. There's a hero in the beginning. He's a normal day in his life. He decides to go on a journey. He faces some obstacle. At some point, it's the dark night of the soul where all hope is lost. The hero's about to give up. He starts making this transformation. And then at the end, there's some metamorphosis. So every story, every movie, the Bible, Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Shakespeare, they have this kind of storytelling arcs. And then you may just read this and think this is a random story. But if you zoom out, this is like the basis of storytelling. People around the fire, in the caves, people in classrooms, people making commercials. This is how liberal arts education is much, much bigger than you might think that it is, and how it's preparing you for all these fields that you might never think it's applied to. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, true.
Okay. So now we're showing a Gucci campaign recently. There's a new designer taking over from Balenciaga. His name is Demna. And he made this bad AI on purpose, is what I think. And they're facing backlash for using AI-generated visuals in all the latest ads. My opinion is that this is kind of the Uno reverse card, where he's saying, I'm going to make it so bad that everyone gets upset that they're using AI, and everyone's going to say, I can't believe Gucci did this, Gucci did that, Gucci did this. And then at the end of the day, the more people say the word Gucci, the more people buy Gucci, which is not what you would think. So I think this is kind of leaning into it. They're in on it. They likely feel what some of us might feel, that it's AI slop. And they're co-opting it in this circular logic that's unexpected. So this is kind of how, debate prepares you for advertising. This is how reading humanities and all these classical stories helps you thinking in these kinds of bigger picture arcs. So that brings us to the next section about how humanity is your new superpower in 2026. And we're going to talk about this TikToker that I like, the Staples baddie. You guys know who that is or not? Some people. So, in my opinion, like this would become some business school case study at some point, describing what is happening and how this is working. So Staples is a competitor of FedEx, who's printing stuff or shipping stuff, and they are kind of the underdog, and they were losing money and they were irrelevant. And then a TikTok personality was just filming themselves having fun, and it blew up, and they're bringing their company back to life. So it's a very unusual path for a brand to come back with as an underdog story.
It's come to my attention that y'all don't really know the full scope of what Staples does. We can make ornaments, we can make mugs, shirts, backpacks, signs, posters, whatever you could need. A banner that's 8 feet long, sure, why not? Let's do anything.
So this ends with the person saying, we're gonna make some 8-foot banner, make mugs, make books, sure, do anything. And then in the comments, there's people saying, I got my BBL at Staples. They're saying, I got divorced at Staples. There's just thousands of ridiculous comments. And what's happening is you feel like you're hanging out with your friend who's at work. Maybe they really like the products. Maybe at the same time they don't want to be there and they're joking around. In this way, social media is becoming more interest media, where the person, it doesn't matter who they are, you don't know them, they don't know you, but you share some kind of interest, and then in the comments section, it becomes an entire world. It becomes like an entire community of people. It becomes something amusing, something to debate, and it's all just contained in this post with millions and millions of people. So this is a very unusual and specific thing that didn't exist in the past. This is also not an influencer. It does seem like people are getting a little bit sick of the influencers because they're being paid and they seem a little inauthentic. We've all seen it like this. Okay, come get ready with me. Let's get my matcha. And then you think, whatever. It's not an affiliate link. It's not a campaign. This is like a real person having fun. And then it goes viral, and then this becomes its own living organism. This is very interesting and a different change from how advertising worked before. So we could see another version here.
Let's make a mug. Tap in. Thing you gotta do, come in store or even online, because you can pick this stuff up same day if you order before noon, or early in the next morning, or get it delivered. Hell, if you don't want to leave your house, got your picture, because we printed off on some sublimation paper, fancy words. Then once I trim this, I'm gonna tape it on the mug. As you can see, we've taped that on there. Then we put it in the medieval torture device that you really want to put your arm in, but you don't. And no matter how much I tell myself it's gonna be fine if I grab it real quick, gotta put on some hot gloves. Now that got it cool. That's just gonna sit there for a while. And now all we gotta do is peel to reveal.
So in many ways, this is very slang heavy. There's ASMR, there's the little memes of the cat. It's like a real person who's amusing themselves and having fun and also making everyone else have fun. They probably are enthusiastic about the products. What's happening on the official's Staples TikTok account is that it's run by the corporate people in the corporate office, and they're just doing every dance that happens every week. They're doing every trend. There's very little views on it. Nobody cares. Then when this came out, the official account is just bombarded with people saying, let the Staples baddie take over the real account. And it's helping the real account get massive reach because of this negative backlash is actually positive somehow. And it's very unusual because Staples corporate did not collaborate with the Staples baddie at all deliberately. And this Staples baddie instead is partnered with Lyft, who is just the underdog versus Uber, with like Rick Owens fashion, which is like a counterculture versus other kind of brands. So it's very interesting how this is like taking off and shaping things. So a lot of people saying, I'm a Gen Z employee. I got my manager to switch to Staples for all of our supplies. This is like very powerful that your own humanity and your own storytelling and your own personality is the most important thing right now. What do you guys think so far? We got some Staples Baddies fans in the back. So now we're going to talk about how some of the clients that we work with have been using this similar strategy. So Mason doubled the revenue this year from organic landing pages using content strategy for Alexis Batar, who's a fashion brand.
You sure you didn't want to continue? Thanks. So let's see the next slide. So Alexis Batar is a guy with a girl's name like me, so I like that about him. He sold his company to Brooks Brothers and then took a few years off. And then Brooks Brothers, I think he would say, destroyed his brand and he bought it back. And this is all public record, I'm not telling the secret. He bought his company back from Brooks Brothers for less than he sold it for. So he got to make a profit on buying his own company and take a 4-year vacation. He's a really interesting dude. He lives in Brooklyn, not far from me, and he's a nice guy. So one of the things that he's done as a creative person, and he's not really using AI to do this, but is to create viral moments by creating a soap opera about Jules and Margot, which he calls emotional terrorists of the Upper East Side. It's pretty risque stuff. There's not a lot of cursing, but this is not the kind of thing that would fly very far outside of New York City. This would not work in the Midwest. We know that because we know where these ads have impact on sales. We know all these things. But so one of these comes out every week, and it's a long-running soap opera about people from the Upper East Side of Manhattan being tortured by their executive assistants and vice versa. So I think we have a clip of one of them.
Get Bernice on the phone. Get Bernice on the phone.
Then let you get it one step.
I never want to work with Stephanie. She looks at me like I'm nothing. She doesn't get what I'm asking for.
We could go back in right now.
No, I don't want to go back in right now.
We're hoping to get a little bit.
I'm only going to work with Bernice. And tell them they need to do something about that Stephanie. She's not very nice, and it's Christmas time. Where's the ho ho ho? I want a little ho 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 when I go shopping.
She wants a little ho 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 when she's shopping.
So you got your list?
Yes, I have the list.
We have to get for Pierre.
Pierre, we have
I've
Pierre's
got to
mother,
get John.
Johnny and Jonathan.
John and oh right.
The gay couple down the
gay
street.
couple
Yes,
down the
yes,
street.
yes.
Oh yeah, we always got to have a gay couple at the table.
Oh, Michael,
Michael.
the doorman.
Well, then we're going to give him an envelope. We're not getting him anything from that store.
Your sister? She
No,
did
we're not
call.
getting anything from my sister.
Are you sure?
Well, I'm very sure.
She is coming over.
So,
Great, perfect, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
where's my
wonderful.
juice?
I'll trade you.
Yeah, sure. I just want to get into the Christmas spirit. A little more. Be generous.
Perfect.
It's fun stuff. So like if Beyonce wears an Alexis Batar piece on the cover of Vogue, that drives sales of that product, right? That seems like pretty easy to understand, right? But they can't control that. That's a stylist, that's Vogue, that's done months ahead. They don't always know what's going to happen, even if they have relationships with those stylists and they can give those products out. They don't know what's going to happen. They do know what can happen with their own storytelling, with their own characters. And they're not so commercial about it. It's really more artistic than that. But they know that if they feature Jules and Margot, and there's a whole cast of characters. Please check it out later. They know that if they feature a certain piece on those characters on one of their 1-minute videos, they know they'll have more sales of that product next month, right? So they can use that creative content they're doing, that storytelling. And Alexis didn't study film. Alexis isn't a film producer or video producer. He's a creative guy that decided he would just do this for fun, and they learned on the fly. And their marketing director is Jessica Steele, has had to learn how to do this with him. So they've taken this idea, and they're using AI and some tools to edit it in the background and make it go faster, but they're just being very creative about their storytelling, and it has a commercial impact, which is you can watch the video and you can like it, but if they feature a certain piece of jewelry, you're more likely to buy it than if they didn't. They can also use it to seed audiences. If they do a store visit in Soho, last year we went to one of these where Margot was there hurling abuses at people in the store in Soho on Prince Street. There was a line around the block, right? It was like a 200-person line around the block to come in and get insulted by Margot, right? And they moved a lot of product that night. I know they happen to know they did something like 4 months worth of sales in that store that night, in that one night, right? So I think that's an example of thinking strategically and creatively about how to move products in a world. The other thing I should just reference really quickly in terms of really technical advertising is we can use those ads, we can repurpose those creative pieces for ads on Instagram to reach new people, and we can do things like target people who like Keeping Up with the Kardashians. There might be some affinity there, and live within a few miles of an Alexis Bitar store, and are interested in fashion. Seems like a good target for that brand. We can carve up their ads and show those to people on Instagram saying, here's a new brand for you to discover, right? So that's sort of a more crass and commercial thing that Mike's talking about, but we're taking the creative work that they're doing and we're using it to drive sales for them by combining it with some technical advertising aspects. Did I say that right, Mike?
That sounds awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, then I just wanted to add that the content like the Staples baddie and the content like what you're seeing here is likely a direct response to AI slop. People are sick of seeing all the stuff that looks fake or overproduced, and as all of that is being made, there's a backlash where there's a big demand for this kind of humanity, storytelling, individuality, lack of production, which is a good thing. And this is a big opportunity for all of you guys to talk about your own individual stories, your own special way of thinking that's unique to you, how all the liberal arts background stuff that you're learning about, all different books and theories can be applied to your own stories. And just seems like a big opportunity right now in 2026. Just like from my own personal opinions, I also hear a lot of people saying, I'm interested in working in tech. I'm going to get a liberal arts degree so I know how to operate all the AIs and manage all the people and tell the story and make this company take off, which you would never hear before. Or I'm interested in skin cancer research. I'm going to get started with liberal arts to think about this kind of big picture thinking. So it's a lot bigger than might be obvious, and that's a big opportunity. That's all I got to say. What else do you guys want to talk about? I'll pass it back to you, Ryan.
Sure. Thank you, guys. Anyone have any questions for Mike or Brooke? Yeah?
Please approach the microphone. Yeah.
Yeah, we're recording if you mind.
I'll bring you one.
Okay.
All right, so my first question is for Mike, and it's what softwares do you use specifically when making these AI-assisted videos?
That's a great question. So we have all the Adobe softwares, and we're using After Effects to edit the videos and do masking and compositing and have different layers and also color grading. It can do a lot of different things, and it's all centralized in there, and it's just our preference because it's so advanced and also all in one. Then we also have a number of the AI native programs, and many of them are interchangeable. So for example, obviously Nano Banana, Midjourney, these types of programs all generate images with comparable skills. Then for the videos, VO, what's the other one? Runway, these kind of things all generate the videos. And at the end of the day, like, it takes some skill to describe what you want to prompt it, and then we need to manually go in and edit it and correct it. Did I answer good enough?
I would add to that he didn't grow up knowing any of these tools, right? He was a commercial director who was trying to figure out his next step and learn these things on the job. And it's because you're a smart dude, but it's also your education. He was able to figure that stuff out. Because the tools we use today are not the same tools we're going to be using in 6 months or a year. They're going to be made obsolete. The other thing that I think is really heartening is one of our fashion clients is a suit maker on Savile Row in London, Edward Sexton. The creative director is our point of contact there. He's a really nice guy. It's a actually no, it's a newer Savile Row house. It's a 50-year-old business with a long tradition, and they make $6,000 suits. This is a creative guy who's got a really good sense of aesthetics. He'll say to me openly, I won't do his accent because he's a nice guy and you might see a recording of this, but he'll say to me openly, I can't wait to replace you and Mike with the ads I can make on my own because I'm a creative guy and I can do it. And he can. I can learn how to make a suit, but he's been making suits by hand for 20 years and I'm just not going to get there, right? And so even though Mike is using and his staff is using AI to make these things, there's going to come a point where the gap is smaller. But the guy who's a creative director of a fashion brand, even he, and young and a digital native, even he is incapable of leveraging these things out of the blue to create these assets because Mike had to teach himself how to do it, and those Amman Hotel ones weren't the first good ones, right? Like there were a lot of mistakes along the way to get there. So I think it's important. Like those are the ones he's using. They're not going to be the ones he's using in another 6 months. Oh, you had another question.
All right, my question for you is if you had to restart, so start again tomorrow, no money, no backgrounds, what services would you offer? Because I know right now your company offers a lot. Would you start with one? Would you, would it be social media? Would it be a specific social media? How would you get clients? What are you doing?
That's a lot, yeah. Why, do you want to start an advertising agency? It's a tough spot. If anyone here is studying business, one of the things about running an advertising agency is the profitability is inherently limited. We can charge a little more than it would cost you to do in-house, but we can't charge a lot more or else you would just do it in-house. So we're not selling a widget where we can obscure costs and mark them up. We're sort of limited, and we can be clever about it, and we're a business for profit, but we really can't charge a lot more than you would do on your own or else you would do on your own. So there's some limit to our profitability. I wish I'd known that when I started the agency 17 years ago, but we figured that out and worked with it. If I were to start it today, I don't know that I would start an advertising agency as a services business. I probably would because it's my network and it's who I'd reach out to. If my son, Mason, who the company's named after, who's about to start college, if he were to start, if I were to advise him to start a company, it would probably not be a services-based business like mine. It would probably be selling more of a product in advertising, and you all might be a lot more creative about that than I would be. But I think it would be some sort of a product that empowers advertisers and agencies to do better with the existing suite of tools. If I had to find more clients tomorrow, I'd send out emails saying, please hire me, because that actually works really well.
Yeah.
I can use this one. All right, thank you for the presentation. I have several questions. So the first one, before I ask the first one, I just want to get my facts straight. So Mason's handling the marketing for Eastern, right? So Eastern's your client?
Yes.
Yeah, great. So what's your strategies for Eastern as a very unique client compared to the high fashion and luxury brands? Because the audience is completely different.
About half of our clients at my agency are colleges or universities. I believe strongly in the transformative power of education in society and that a rising tide lifts all boats. My wife is a public school principal in Brooklyn. We believe in education. It's half of our clients. Why do we have clients? And fashion, because there are two things I like. So we did talk about a bunch of the fashion stuff because it's sort of more fun to show those videos, honestly, than campus tours. I apologize to everyone. But we're ready to handle your business because the legacy part of our business is something like 60% of our revenues, and half of our clients are from colleges and universities and some pre-Ks and things like that.
I got something to add on this too. So there is also like a pretty big crossover between these categories that you might not think about. So we are making a lot of these documentary-style videos using the students, similar to like what the Staples Betty was doing or the Lexus Pitar people were doing to a lesser extent. And then these are outperforming the very fancy brand videos of the school in some cases. So we'll make like a pseudo UGC video with all the students as if they're making their own Instagram story, as if they're making their own TikTok, as if they're making like a fashion post about their outfit. But then it's promoting events at the school, like the open house day or these kind of things. So a lot of what's driving the 18-year-olds in the e-commerce section is also driving 18-year-olds in the schools through similar types of media based on their online behavior, people scrolling on TikTok. It's like very, very important to have someone who's like TikTok native in schools and in fashion brands, is my opinion.
Yeah, I think I've seen some examples, because in recent years, I've seen a lot of ads on social media that was not the case before. And I personally felt really captivated by the content, so I think you're doing a great job on that. And the use of colors and design. Oh, by the way, I'm a faculty here from the Art and Art History department. So, yeah, so my other question is, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there was I think it was Instagram post about, generally using AI, I assume. It was the Willy, was the mascot on the beach. The imagery was great, but I kind of created backlash from some students. They had a really strong response, and I have students come to my office being very upset, saying like, why are we using AI? They're taking away creativity, and then not to mention the copyright infringement. So yeah, like a lot of people are really upset about this. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, that's a great call out. We're talking about the mascot appearing on the beach, and then some AI beach waves comes up while the mascot is studying there. And a lot of students, rightfully so, are concerned about their own futures, their own artistic styles, environmental concerns. I share a lot of these concerns as well, as we were talking about throughout the presentation. I think this particular post is a one-off that may be interesting to help everyone open this topic and to think about how we can move in the way that's going to be beneficial to all of them. And to take this a step further, I know Ryan and Raina are at the forefront of college marketing, and they are using a lot of the students in the ads, and I'm sure they would love to have the students reach out and be included in even more ads, and the ads that feature the students are some of the top performers. So I think we may be saying the same thing in some ways. What do you think? Am I answering the question?
Yeah, so I guess, so would you like continue using AI generated content, and how would you spark that conversation? How do you, I guess, they say publicity is good, like no matter good or bad publicity. I think it's good that it's generating a conversation, but like in your ad strategies, like would you make any tweaks to your current strategy, or what's your plan going forward?
Yeah, so in the presentation, I was showing the example of Gucci making a bad AI on purpose that was kind of reverse engineering the algorithm to help them and to open up this conversation and the discourse. What does it mean to be a designer? What does it mean to be a creative person? I'm not sure that Gucci thinks that is a beautiful ad, because all the other ads don't look like that. I think this one-off post functioned in a similar way for the students to help them face their own fears, face their own concerns, and start moving forward in a way that really promotes art and painting. My personal opinion is I'm a painter. I like paintings. I like things to be artistic and beautiful. The data is often backing up that we need to see a lot of humanity. We need to see a lot of liberal arts, big picture thinking, and storytelling. I'm not sure that the AI slop has replaced creativity yet. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. My personal opinion is they haven't come up with this innovation yet. It's my opinion.
Yeah. All right, thank you so much. And I thank you for sharing how the liberal arts background is helping you, like personally sharing your personal stories. I think that's very inspiring. Thank you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Laura.
Hi, gentlemen. Are you both from New York?
Yes.
Grew up in New York?
We're both from New York and both went to Columbia, but a few years apart, yeah.
Yeah. So are a majority of your clients from the Northeast or in this area?
No, the most clients we have are in New York. Second most clients we have are in Chicago. The third most are in LA, and the fourth are in London. And that's just where the people are.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not that we make an effort to go into London more because we like that market, but it tend to be where population clusters are.
Yeah, so I'm an accounting student here in sustainable energy, and I use AI a lot of the time to crunch numbers. So I'm glad to see that you guys use it in the same way. It makes me feel like I'm onto something.
Cool.
But I'm really fascinated with this idea that you guys talk about, where you kind of, you release in your media, you show something that is kind of against the grain, and then it causes people to talk about it, and it makes more people buy the products. So I was wondering if there's like more examples that you guys have on how you selectively find these examples to use in your advertisements that kind of push the right idea, because you don't also want to push the wrong idea. In my marketing class, we were talking about Sydney Sweeney with, I believe it's
She's got good genes.
Yes, she has good genes.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that for a little while, and how there was a lot of backlash against it because people don't necessarily like to hear that. But then they saw a huge surge in sales after that.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Mike.
Yeah, I got some ideas. I think this is kind of an unusual take. My personal opinion is that you need to make some enemies if you want to be successful with the campaigns. And this is true of everybody from the beginning of time until now. So like Taylor Swift, the most popular person in the whole world, she is making enemies against the quote unquote cool girls. So she's saying the enemy is Charlie XCX or these types of artists. And she's going to lean heavily into the opposite extreme of being like a down-to-earth person. So she's taking a line in the sand, and she's saying, this is who I am. If you're not like this, I'm not for you. So in many cases, you can't be everything for everyone, and you gotta reach out to people, and you can't be afraid to break some eggs to make the omelet.
I agree, yeah.
I think we got a question back here.
I apologize, I came in late from Web Hall. But my question is this, is how much, because maybe I already addressed this, but how much does traditional AI in forms of like artificial neural nets and market basket analysis influence where you focus to engage the more generative AI in your next video that you're going to do? Because I know that many times you can see unusual patterns in market basket analysis or artificial neural nets and all that. It was kind of funny that you brought up Chicago and all that, and Gucci, okay? Back in the ancient times, I worked at State Farm Corporate. My programming librarian was a Gucci lady. She bought all of her Gucci stuff from what is now part of Macy's, which is Marshall Fields in Chicago. And guess what? When she had little Jenny, Doug, her husband, got hit up to buy the $1,800 Gucci diaper bag. Doug bought it for little Jenny and Barb. True story. Okay? But Barb had never bought any diaper things, no kids things from Marshall Fields at all. They combined the data with Kroger's, what we figured out, where she'd been buying formula and other types of kids things and all that for little Jenny. So do you ever look and do preliminary analysis with market basket analysis, artificial neural nets, databases, to figure out where we should target first the greatest return on the buck for the videos we're going to create first, and then work your way down in terms of adding business value to lower value add ones?
And your role is?
My role?
Yeah.
My role is a business information systems professor from industry. Worked at State Farm Corporate and at IBM and a tech startup, and looking at data in financial data, patterns.
I appreciate that question. So to me, I'm going to answer that sort of from a business perspective, then about ad platforms. we can only advertise our clients where they want to advertise. And you asked a question about AI, and I think one of the, to continue this, we've had clients that have demanded that we never use AI in anything we do, and then we've had clients that demand we only use AI to keep costs down, and I don't have a judgment about their decisions. They get to decide what they want to do and how they want to do it, and it's our job to work with them to make it as good as possible. From a market basket analysis and from a data perspective, because the way the industry works is most of the clients are advertising on Google and Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, and we can do a lot more than that. We can do programmatic advertising, we can do TV, we can do radio, but from an advertising perspective, my philosophy is the first thing we should do for a client is hoover up all of the demand that's at the bottom of the funnel, because that's going to have the best return on investment for our clients. And only once we've done that as well as we can do we go to the next step, right? So for you, this isn't the way we actually do this for you, but an example would be buying the word Eastern Connecticut State University within 5 miles of this campus, right? That would have a good return on investment on Google for advertising for you. The issue is, that's not introducing you to the university, to any new students, because you already know what ECSU is to Google it, right? That wasn't a discovery thing. But once we've got that working well, then we're going to go up to things like Connecticut Public Liberal Arts Colleges. But we're only going to go there and buy those key terms when we've maximized what's at the bottom of the funnel. So what that means is that most of our advertising is on Google and Meta. And they have very sophisticated data tools inside them that we're sort of forced to leverage by them. And we can append third-party data, and some people here know about Cambridge Analytica. But we can use their data. We were talking about this earlier today. The way that Meta is analyzing data now is, and the example is before 2020. Sorry, some of you are going to hear this again for the 400th time. Before 2020, the way we buy ads on Meta, Instagram, was informed partly by apps that were making money by selling their data back to Meta. So if you were a fashion brand and you were if you were on GQ's app and you were looking at cowboy boots, GQ could make some money by selling that back to, let's say, Roper's, a cowboy boot brand. And so when Roper's is trying to sell cowboy boots, they could buy that audience from Meta, which is informed by the apps that was on the phone. They're passing that data back and forth. Meta was free because you were the product, right? We were all the product from there. And so iOS 14, which is an update put in place by Apple, changed that in 2020, and Meta spent a few years trying to fix it. And the way they're using data now is still some of those old tactics, but they have an update called Andromeda. And what Andromeda does, they'll talk about it openly in their engineering blogs. What they'll do is they'll comb the creative that you're putting out and decide what interest it targets and who they want to show it to as a result. So the way to sell Roper's now, cowboy boots, is to show several different ads with different personas. One that shows a fashion-conscious person who loves these boots. One that shows someone who's a hardworking rodeo professional who loves to just rope cows, steer. I don't know what the phrase is, right? But you want to have different personas that they're creating audiences from based on the data. They're telling us the data they want to use, and they're showing the ads across their walled garden of a network where they want to. So not a lot of our clients are layering on additional data on top of that. Some of them are, people like Casio or Mary Mecca or Italy, some global multinationals we work with. They're using data in a different way. I will tell you that most of the colleges and fashion brands we work with are using the data in the platforms, enriched by their first-party data of current students. We can use robots and AI to find people that look demographically and psychographically like the students in this room to go after more of them to try to get them to inquire. So most of them are using the native data platforms enriched by first-party data from the colleges or the brands themselves.
Right, so you're incorporating the click-through rates, the page stickinesses, all of that. I used to teach e-commerce, I forgot to tell you that. And now I was...
I guessed.
You guessed. Yeah, I actually have a former student that's teaching it. He's been managing AI development teams for an international insurance group. But yeah, that gets me to the next question. Do you use like AWS, like Bedrock and Cloud Sonnet and that type of stuff, or not?
So we're using Claude. We all use Chat. We use every single tool there is. We're using all the time. Yep. So I do sometimes think it's interesting that I'm 50 and I'm probably using this more than the 22-year-olds that work for me, and I wonder how they feel about that and if they want to self-reflect on that. Lately, honestly, we're using Gemini more than anything else because it's integrated into our G Suite tools. I think they all have different things. I think that if you want to do a difference in difference analysis, if there's any statistics people in here, I think the Claude's better at that. If you want to look at commonalities among 400 images over the course of the last 3 years that ran for a suiting client to find out whether three-quarter length, three-quarter profile shots or straight-ons are better, I think Claude's better at that. I think if you want to analyze some transcriptions of a phone call and turn it into a PowerPoint presentation, I think Notebook LM's better at that. I think they're all better at different things.
Yep. Well, that's kind of what we've been discussing, yeah, that there's different ones for different things. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank you. This was a really interesting presentation. I just wanted to announce to everyone here that on March 24th, we are holding a colloquium called the Liberal Arts Education in the Age of AI. It's all day long here, mostly in the Student Center Theater. We have a keynote presentation, faculty speaking about teaching and research, a student panel. 5 students will be talking about AI. We have roundtable discussions about a range of topics, concerns about AI, possibilities, ethical issues, all kinds of questions. And at the end of the day, we are having an industry and professional panel, and then a K through 12 educators panel. So I think it's going to be a really rich day. You can drop in and out throughout the day. And I'm looking at the room and I see some people who I know will be speaking at the event. So we're excited. There will be one session that's specifically about humanities. So I think this topic we will continue talking about. So thank you.
Oh, one more question. Oh.
And one of the speakers from the panel.
Hi, thank you all for this amazing presentation. One question that I had is going back to the Gucci ad. They're obviously a very large brand that already has a huge place in the market. So when they put up something that is kind of in this like AI slop way, we're thinking about it, but we already have them in our minds as this high quality company. So when we're marketing for smaller brands, can we use those same strategies, or is it more like it kind of falls through because maybe we look at it and we go, I don't know what this brand is and it looks like AI slop, so I'm going to keep scrolling? Or do you think people are still commenting and engaging with it?
I think like the big picture idea works where you're trolling people. The execution of it needs to be different based on what the brand is. If it's an unknown brand, you can do something similar, but then make it visually different. So like on TikTok, it would say, I hired these 2 videographers, chat, am I cooked? And then it shows the 2 guys doing this. And then with the phones. And then it's like some sick brand video after that. So this would be some kind of little trick hook in the beginning, but in a way that feels more native and authentic to an upcoming brand. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Again, I'm currently working with a smaller clothing company, so I'm kind of trying to figure out all this AI side of things myself. I've done a lot of research in the ethics of AI, but I'm trying to implement it into these smaller businesses. So again, this has been very insightful, so thank you.
Yeah, I think a lot of the smaller brands, they have to show who they are, tell the story of what makes them special inside the designs.
We have a concept called the brand prison. A lot of clients will come in and they'll say, brand new, we do with a lot of startups, right? We're not dealing with Coca-Cola. We're dealing with a lot of startup fashion brands. And they'll come into our doors and they'll say, this is our brand guideline. You may not deviate it from in any way in making creatives. And what happens is they don't have a brand because no one knows who they are. So to rigidly adhere to brand standards when no one is looking at you it doesn't strike me as a great strategy for growth, right? And we call that derisively, behind the client's backs, we call it brand prison. Like they're stuck in a prison of their own making. They refuse to get out of it. And so if you're working with a new brand and you're trying to be, and the brand is fashion forward and sustainable, you should adhere to those pillars. But if the ads aren't getting traction, try something else. and a lot of our job is getting clients to try something else and to open their own parameters for stress and realize that they can try something else. Doesn't mean we want to troll everyone, doesn't mean we want to be aggressive all the time. But if no one's seeing your ads, it doesn't really matter if they're on brand or not. And so that's a key thing. It's practical advice. Try something different.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hi, thank you for this lovely, thought-provoking presentation. I'm a professor in the Department of Business. I teach marketing research. But really what caught my attention was when Brooke made that comment, I have 40 years of experience, or I'm a 40-year-old, I can't remember what the 40 was about, and I'm using AI more than any of in a typical 20-year-old. But there is a lot of depth in that comment. Perhaps it is your 40 years of experience that allows you to think about how to use AI.
And my liberal arts education.
There you go. Exactly. And I think that's the message that we want our students to, get. That it is not just about using the tools. It is your fundamentals that are built over the years, and the tool kind of enhances, the speed of doing things, or allowing you to do certain things that would have otherwise taken, several months, or having to travel elsewhere, as your first example did. But your fundamentals are still yours, and you want to keep building your expertise and understanding what that discipline and knowledge is, right? I mean, this is just a comment, not a question.
Yeah, no, but like,
if you can speak a little more about that to our students, I think that would be great.
yeah, Grandpa here, kid's going to get a lecture. Like, so we have junior employees at the company that are in their 20s. Again, I'm 50, my kid's 17, he's going to go off to college soon. And I was talking to someone junior at our staff who we like and respect and is smart, and we like her, she's good. English is her third language, I barely speak English. And I was showing her how to pull some data for a client, and she pulled it correctly. And then I said, that's great, now we're going to analyze it. And her first thing was, well, you didn't ask me to analyze it. I just asked me to pull it. And I said, right. I didn't know that you could pull the data, actually. And this was a test to see if you could pull the data. So the first thing is we're always testing people. That's called life. And so I said, now that you've proven you can pull the data, now we're going to analyze it. Here's 2 ways to do it. I would do it in a pivot table in Excel, not Google Sheets, because that's where I'm comfortable. But we can also use Claude to do this. Let me show you how to do it. And she said, well, if you can use Claude to do it, why are you going to show it to me? Why don't you just use Claude, right? And I found that, I'm not being critical of her, like there's a language issue going on there too, but that was, in one way that's like super defeatist. Is she asking me to Claude her out of a job, right? But I think it was an existential question she was getting at, like, why are you doing this? And the answer is because someone has to teach people how to do things and think critically, or we're all going to be like Wall-E, right? Like, Idiocracy. So it's imperative culturally to be teaching people around us how to do things so that we can replace ourselves culturally and new ideas can come up. It's sort of and again, I preface that with a grandpa's going to lecture you piece, but like, I just do believe it's our responsibility to show the people around us how to do things. And they can teach me lots of things too, right? The younger people that we work with. But it was just interesting. Why would you show me how to do this? Because what am I paying you for, to do nothing? You're like, I have to teach you how to do it. So that's sort of the way I think about it. I mean, I'd be terrified. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't terrified about the implications of AI. But yes, we have to use it to enhance what we do. And the employees at my company that are most valuable, meaning they have the lowest churn ratio of clients, they get clients to spend the most. Like, that's very nakedly what we try to do. We want our clients to spend more because we make a percentage of what they spend. And we want to retain the clients we have. Those are good measures for us to look at in advertising as a business, very nakedly, right? The people that do that the best are also the best communicators. They're not the best button pushers. They're the best communicators, the people that know how to ask the right questions and listen and establish a human connection. And they might be at the end of their careers, they might be at the beginning of their careers. Like, there's young people at the company who are really good at that. But that is more important than the ability to push a button. That thinking is a much better, it's a much more impactful way to drive success for our clients than the actual mechanics of the button pushing, which are also important. But anyway, that's the way I think about it.
All right, so I'm a business student with a concentration in marketing, and I've noticed that a lot of my professors struggle with approaching the topic of AI or having conversations about it in the classroom, and I think a lot of it stems from this fear of it being classified as plagiarism to use it, or cheating in some way. And I'm wondering, if you guys were professors, how would you approach the use of AI in the classroom?
My son's, I would make everyone do handwritten papers at the end of the year in the classroom with a pencil. So I would do it. I think it's fine to use these tools. That we're all using them. My kid used them for his essays to apply to college. I use them. It'd be silly to pretend we're not using them. But if I were actually going to judge someone on something, I would, in an academic environment, I'd make them write it down with a piece of paper, which is what my wife, who's a high school principal, does in Brooklyn in her finals as she can as she can. And that's what my kid's high school does too. We put him in an IB program where he had to write things down live because we value that.
That makes sense. And as for like marketing classes where we might be creating videos or presentations, do you think there we should shy away from the use of AI? Or
No, I
lean
think
into it?
we should lean into it. But also, neither Mike nor I studied marketing or. Did you study business? I studied painting. So anyway.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion is that you got to challenge yourself and make it really hard. And that's likely why they're telling you not to use AI in the classroom as some learning experience to expand your mind. Because if you just go straight to it, then you won't be able to know how to use it. So you got to make it hard for yourself, do everything manually, and then at the same time, try to innovate how these systems can streamline your future for you. I think the people who just go straight into the AI platforms, they get defeated by the people who know how to think first, and then they start using them.
Yeah, and I
That's
think
just
that's
my
kind of what we
opinion.
just talked about previously, like Professor Grandi said. So yeah, I agree.
Any other questions? Well, yeah, one last.
So you mentioned before that AI kind of lowered the point of entry for a lot of people. So I imagine a lot of smaller studios or even independent designers would come out and try to eat a piece of the pie. So as an agency, how would you make yourselves more competitive?
You want to answer from my point of view is I view it like I'm an artist and I'm making my art. Then if it's a painting or if it's like a video, then this is my style. And a lot of them look very similar. And it's counterintuitive, but then I repeat it a lot more than you would think you should. And that's not a negative, that's extremely, extremely positive because you have your own style, you have the confidence to have this style. You're taking a line in the sand, you're saying this is what art should look like. And then people are coming to you for your art. So I think people need to look at it like they're artists. So from a creative point of view, that's my opinion. I don't know if you have some other thing to add.
That's a great comment. Thank you.
I saw also your students' painting exhibition last year, and it was awesome. We had some really cool paintings there.
Oh, thank you.
So I was curious, for one of these like very professionally done advertisements, what is the start to finish time and how many hands does it pass through before you get to the end where you give it to your client?
So these are all different depending on the scale of it. Often starts with storyboarding and some kind of idea. Like I was saying earlier to your colleague, the professor there, if you have some recognizable style, that makes it easier to be hired again because they're not surprised. They know what they're going to get. You're getting this artist to make this style. Then we would have like a mood board and then the shot list and the pre-production, which plans everything out, the equipment and the models and the locations. Then we film it, then we have the post-production, and then it's chopped up into different formats for different media. Then we have like graphic designers in Charlotte and video editors and all these kinds of people. Some of the more native TikTok style videos could be like a week turnaround. Some of the bigger brand campaigns where they're reinventing themselves literally to be a completely different company often goes over months. And what's interesting about this is how are you positioning them against the competitors? Like if this is a suitcase brand, is it like above, away? Is it below, Remova? Where does it fit in? What are you saying visually? So everything that you put in the video, you're saying something, like it's there for a reason. You don't just put it there because it looks nice. There's a reason for every single second that appears. So that is something to consider also. Like in the tennis thing, the girl is drinking the water. It's like some physical pleasure. They're laughing with the friends. It's community. And these are all subconscious feelings you get just from wearing a shirt. So it's interesting. You want to tell stories and make people believe in you. What do you think? I'm like way in outer space right now.
It's sometimes so interesting to see these advertisements because, you see like an advertisement for a Jeep Wrangler and it's like riding around in the Sahara. And I of course it makes sense. Like if you buy a Jeep, you envision yourself doing this kind of thing. But at the same time, it sometimes seems so abstract, like where you have the horses running in the desert. I know you mentioned that this was one of the more abstract advertisements that you put out there. And I think it is interesting that you're like trying to convey that mood and where you get it from. I'm not a marketing major. I don't study a lot of marketing. I do put together short form content sometimes, but I don't quite know where I was going with that. But
Yeah, this sounds great. Just like the more that you make, the better off that you are, the client is, and your skills are. It's literally just make like 100 times the volume of what you think you should do, and you'll be on the right track.
So for those, how many like hands did it pass through before you got, like if you could estimate?
I mean, there was like some crew of people, probably like 40 people in all these locations in all different countries. Then maybe like 3 or 4 like designers, like video editors. Then I did the creative direction, like the mood board and then the concept and some of the editing. So this was kind of like a bigger project than some of the other ones where just like a cell phone video, this could be one person by itself.
He was nominated for a Clio Award, which is a big thing in advertising. If you search our company's name, Mason Interactive, and on YouTube, and you look for Laurent Ferrier, which is a watch, probably Mason Interactive watch would work. Laurent Ferrier, it's French, you can figure out how it's spelled. You check out a video that he got us nominated for a prestigious a competition. That was just you.
That one was me.
It's just him. So you can check out that video. It's nominated for an award. It's just him. And so it passed through one hand. We have other commercials that he's worked on where we've had shoots with 20 people and 5 models and 4 production assistants, and they look different. They don't look better. They look different. But if you want to see what one person can do, check out our YouTube channel, Mason Interactive, and look for the Laurent Ferrier commercial.
I admire what you guys do a lot. My mom has her master's in fine arts, and she can always tell these very elaborate stories about paintings when she sees them. And to see you guys talk about how you kind of use your background and prior knowledge of art to come out with these new pieces, I admire it a lot.
Oh, thanks.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for your great questions, and Brooke and Mike for your thought-provoking conversation. And, Raina and I work with them week to week, so if you ever have any other questions you want us to ask them, just reach out to me and Raina. So thank you so much for
Thanks
being
for
here,
coming,
Mike
guys.
and Brooke.
Bye.